All right. You asked me about Sparkle.
Yes.
I love
Hello, world. Hello, world. Warmest welcome to the 39th episode of Inspiring Millions Show. This is the show where we celebrate brilliant minds from around the world who share with us their story, one story at a time. Ready to sparkle and shine brightly? Today, our featured guest is Carole Pyke, the Sparkle Navigator. Let's get inspired by her story in a short while. Thank you for joining us live or on replay. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn, your host and Global Media Relations of World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO founded in Croydon, UK, by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality, living as one family. WHD is striving for humanity. This Inspiring Millions show is your show. As always, we encourage you to interact and engage with us. Please help us spread inspiration to the world by sharing this link. Put your questions that you would like to ask our guest, Ms Carole Pyke, greetings or comments that you have for us in the comments box. We would love to read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. We are in the last week of October. October is Black History Month in the UK. Today, the 29th of October, is World Stroke Day. In this episode, our featured guest is Ms Carole Pyke of the UK. Carole is a Sparkle Navigator, personal brand strategist, and a two-time stroke survivor. She is on a mission to help determined women leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners discover and leverage the power of their sparkle for greater impact personal brand. Let's watch this video about Carole Pyke.
I am Carole Pyke, the personal brand storyteller and two-time stroke survivor. I am a coach, mentor, speaker, author, and trainer. I know the power that comes from knowing who you are. I am a victor and not a victim. I believe that every success is underpinned by how we see ourselves and the value we place on that. It's not what other people say about us, it is what we say about us that counts, because that is the dialogue we carry everywhere we go. Knowing who you are brings courage, confidence, and a boldness to show up on purpose. Starting from that place, more doors open up for you. You make deeper connections and the possibilities are endless. I'm on a mission to touch, move, and inspire others to be the best version of themselves. I'd love to get to know you, so please get in touch.
And so there you have it, the spectacular Carole Pyke. Welcome. Thank you for being with us here today. So how are you today, Carole?
I'm great, thank you. And there is something about being on the Inspiring Millions show, because that is a kind of like a deep-seated ambition of mine, to inspire millions to be the best version of themselves.
So today is also International Internet Day. I met Carole online at our local online UK Women Entrepreneurs Organization headed by Dr. Logiswari Nalathambi. So they're watching now. So hi to them. I said to myself, Carole is very inspiring. I gotta get her on Inspiring Millions show. And so now here we are. So Carole, let's get started. Could you please introduce yourself to the world and share a brief story about you?
I'm Carole Pyke, the Sparkle Navigator. Essentially, I'm a marketing strategist that specializes in personal branding. And for me, Sparkle, I'll talk about that a little bit later, is personal branding reimagined. I'm a two-time stroke survivor, and my second stroke in February 2019, one of the impacts of that is that I have a form of retrograde amnesia, which essentially means that I am the most sophisticated 2-year-old you are ever going to meet, because I have no major memories pre-February 2019, but I do bring to the table a wealth of experience and expertise for 58 years. So I am looking at the world through fresh eyes. I'm seeing things with a fresh perspective, which makes me special in lots of different ways. That's, me in a nutshell.
It's great about fresh perspective, but I just hope we don't have to go through stroke in order to have that kind of concept. So, Carole, could you please tell us more about Sparkle?
Well, Sparkle has its roots in, I met Nelson Mandela. And when it was that I met him, he was the first person that I had met who had presence. He would just showed up in the room, and there was just something about him that you wanted to connect with. And it wasn't what he said, it wasn't what he did, it wasn't even your knowledge of his history that said it was him and the way in which it is that he showed up. And I decided that that was Sparkle. And I have a Sparkle equation, which is to know who you are, understand the value you bring to the table, and then show up unapologetically on purpose. And when that is in alignment, quite literally, magic happens. Like my first booking to speak in 2019, I was in a wheelchair, in pajamas, on a stroke ward. And the woman that booked me to speak had actually never met me before. So she didn't know whether I could speak in front of an audience. And actually, to be honest with you, neither did I at the time. So she didn't connect with my history and my abilities and my skills. She actually connected with me. And what made it even more significant was that she was a white woman with an audience of white middle-class men. And I'm making that distinction because there was nothing about me in pajamas in a wheelchair that actually would have said, yeah, that would be a great person to speak to my audience. But because I showed up as me, because I knew that I brought value, I didn't necessarily at the time know what that value was, but I showed up in that way. She connected with that and wanted more. And so what I'm saying to everybody is that actually, the moment it is that you know who you are, and you understand that actually whatever room it is that you show up in, that you are bringing some value, and then you don't look at how it is that you compare with somebody else, that you're actually saying, this is me, and this is how it is I do me, magic happens. And I can tell you countless stories of my journey through the last 2 years. But also there was someone that I was coaching, and she was going for a job. And she went for a job, and the interview was at 10 a.m. By midday, they had sent her the offer letter. Now, she'd had the interview and she had to do a presentation. So we know that that was about an hour, if not an hour plus. And we also know that HR don't do things in a hurry. But they said that she had gravitas and they didn't want to lose her. And quite literally, that is Sparkle. Because she went into that interview knowing who she was, understood that she brought value to the table. And she also wasn't caught up with whether or not they wanted her or not. She knew that she could make a difference when she showed up. And if they wanted that, that was fine. If they didn't, that was fine too. And she was unapologetic about that. And that is Sparkle.
Carole, could you please tell us more about Sparkle?
All right. Oh, yes. Sparkle is also an acronym. I love acronyms. S is about superpower. And I've got a thing about superheroes, but I think a superhero is simply, you've identified a group of people that have a problem and you show up in your way to help them to solve it. So we all are superheroes to somebody. And so your superpower is how it is that you do that. P is about passion. Passion is the fuel in your engine. And when we're looking at why it is that we're doing things, it comes from our passion. And when you are passionate, it is infectious. A is about attitude. What's your attitude to life? What's your attitude to situations? Are you the person that says, well, they did this to me, rather, or that this happened, right, and this is how I'm choosing to navigate it? We need to raise our attitude so that we've got the attitude of a winner. R is about resources. What do you already have in your hand? And I'm not talking just about finances. I'm talking about skills. I'm talking about talent. I'm talking about people, experience, expertise. What do you already have in your hand? It's time to acknowledge it and to leverage it moving forward. K is about kryptonite. Remember I said it's about superheroes. Superman had kryptonite that threatened to derail him. For us, there is something in all of our lives that shows up time and time again that knocks us, that either stops us in our tracks, derails us, sets us back. And we all know what that thing is, even if it shows up in different packages or with different faces. Identify what's your kryptonite and actually identify the strategy to use when it shows up, because then you spend less time in that space because you know, oh, when that happens, this is what I'm going to do. L is about leadership, and I'm talking thought leadership. And thoughts lead us and also inform how it is that we lead others. We actually move in the direction of our strongest thought. So if your strongest thought is I'm not good enough, then guess where that's leading you? We can't show up in a way consistently that is different from how it is that we see ourselves. So start thinking about how you're thinking, and then how you are thinking about what it is that you're doing, because then that's impacting the people you are here to serve. And E is about experience. The journey that you have traveled is littered with gold, because you've had to overcome challenges, obstacles, navigate hills and valleys to get to here today, but perhaps haven't acknowledged the skills that you have developed, the strategies, the tools that you have to help you to navigate the rest of your journey, but also to help the people you are here to serve. So essentially, that is Sparkle.
That's a really wonderful acronym for Sparkle. So you've mentioned that you've met Nelson Mandela, but you've not only met Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, you've also hugged him. So can you tell us how that came about?
I think I discovered that I have always been bold, because I was working with the Prince's Trust at the time, and Nelson Mandela came to Brixton, and the Prince's Trust were on the balcony. So he came to meet everybody that was on the balcony, and he was walking along and he was shaking people's hands. And as he got to me, I thought, I'm not shaking his hand. And I hugged him, which I have to admit, he was a little bit shocked to start off with, but he did hug me back. It just felt that in that moment, I have met this man that's got the presence that was just amazing. And it just felt that shaking his hand was wrong. I needed to hug him. And I also see myself as a hugologist, that's it. Hugging is currency. It's a way of connecting. So, yeah.
So that's also your claim to fame, that you hugged Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
So, Carole, what is the key to happiness?
I actually think that the key to happiness essentially is knowing who you are. I really believe that knowing who you are, and really knowing who you are, actually shifts everything. Because if you know that you are a winner, or if you know that you are an overcomer, then regardless of what comes your way, you will navigate your way through it. And I think that we all need to create a happy place in our minds where there is peace, love, joy, and understanding. And so every day, essentially, we are fighting to stay in that place. And that when it is that we are away from that place, that we actually know, I need to go home. Stuff happens, but we then recognize that this is not where I live. So I live in a place where it is that I am happy with me. I'm content with the way things are on the way to where it is that I'm going. Because I think that we forget that you don't ever become, you're always becoming. So if it hasn't happened today, it isn't over. But if you create that space for yourself that actually says, right, this is happening and I'm not comfortable with that and it's making me angry or upset, right, acknowledge those emotions and those feelings, but actually I'm going back to my happy place. I'm going to navigate my way back. And you can furnish that in your mind however it is you want it to be. There could be music, there could be books that you read, quotes, inspirations, but create a happy place for yourself.
And as usual, you always have like an acronym for words. You also have an acronym for happy, Carole.
Okay, I'm hoping that you've got that because I now can't remember what that is. Oh my gosh, I did.
So here it is. This is your
go.
acronym for happy.
Yeah, because I think that because happy, that we're often looking outside of ourselves for something to make us happy. You know, that whole thing that the relationship didn't make us happy. You know, that we've got a new car to make us happy or a new job or something. But happiness, it really is an inside job that we choose to be happy. And you can be happy and have nothing. No material things, because actually it's you saying, do you know, actually, I'm happy with me. And that's irrespective of whether or not you've got a few extra pounds, because we have got the whole COVID fat thing going on, because this isn't where you're staying. I am happy with me now on my way to somewhere else. You know, like I'm single and I often say I'm happily single, but it's not my first choice. So it's that whole thing. So it's a healthy attitude and it's passionate and purposeful you. So the question is, are you happy?
That's really wonderful, Carole. So could you tell us what makes you happy in your daily life?
Well, I've set the benchmark low, but it's probably not that low. Because essentially I have decided that as long as I am breathing, and I believe in God, so as long as I'm breathing and God is still on the throne, I'm in a good place. Everything else is a bonus. So I don't need anything to make me feel happy. That's my starting point. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up in the morning with a smile because I woke up. Because I know that once it is that you are breathing, everything is still possible. So there isn't anything that isn't possible. It may be more challenging. There may be more obstacles to navigate. It may take longer, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. And so for me, the fact that I'm breathing and that God is still on the throne, that is enough.
That's really great. Just think of the basic things and just having those basic needs, just being alive is something to make a person happy. So how does a person find strength within oneself to withstand life's obstacles? Because you're a two-time stroke survivor. So could you share tips with us on how to develop resilience?
Well, I think one of the key things is to not focus on the lack and the problem. Because I think it is, you know, it's overwhelming when there are challenges and there are things in our lives that aren't working in the way that we would like them to. That's true. But the more it is that we focus on just looking at them, the bigger they become, and we don't find the solution. Whereas actually, if we stopped and actually looked at, okay, these are the challenges and this is where things aren't going right, or these are where the imperfections are, or whatever it is that we're calling it, right? So that's one set of some things, but there are also equally things in your life that are going well, that are good. And so it's looking at, if you focus on the things that are moving forward or are well or in the right order or however it is you want to frame it, you now have the more energy to be able to tackle the things that aren't going so well. And so it's not about ignoring anything and pretending, you know, that whole thing that, you know, what we'll do is we'll pretend that it isn't there. No, that's not the answer. Like I'll say to you that every day of my life, I have challenges to overcome. And if I sat there and looked at the challenges and looked at the impact of 2 strokes, I would sit in a corner crying. But I've decided that that's not how it is I would like to live out the rest of my life. So I'm focusing on the things that are good whilst I navigate the things that aren't so good. So it's that whole thing of making the distinction of acknowledging where it is that you are, but actually looking at what else it is that you have. And then the other side is also about having a vision. Helen Keller said that there's worse than being blind is people that have sight but no vision. And one of the challenges about the things that are going on or wrong or whatever it is in our lives is that as a result of that, we are focused on the stuff and not on the vision in front of us. And the vision should always be bigger than where it is that you are right now, because then it's something that's inviting you to keep moving to get there. And so now the obstacles and the challenges and the problems, I need to find a way to navigate them to get to my vision. But if I've got no vision and all I have are the problems, then I'm going to spend my life there and never be able to move through it. And it's all a process, that things don't happen overnight. That whole overnight success that took 30 years to get there. It's that whole thing. But if we're moving in the right direction, we're going to get there a lot sooner if we're not moving at all.
It's so inspiring about just focusing on what's good and having a vision. So Carole, what can you tell us about self-love and how important is it?
One of the things I want to challenge you is to actually stand in front of the mirror and look at the boy or the girl looking back and tell them that you love them. And we often have that big challenge because we think of all of the things that aren't right, or I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like my nose, or but don't you remember what you did last night, or all of those things. But I don't believe that we can love anybody if we don't love ourselves. Because if you think about it, if you don't like somebody, then you avoid their company. You don't spend time with them. There is nowhere that you can go that you're not going with you. And so it's therefore imperative that you find a way to live with this person in a loving relationship, because they're not going anywhere. And so if you've got some extra fat, because there are often times where it is that people say, oh, well, I don't like my stomach, or I don't like my something, but that's who you are right now. So embrace the now on the way to the then, because you can only get there wherever there is for you from here. You can't get there from where it is you'd like to be, where you should be, because by this age or by this time it should have. You can't. You can only get there from here. And if we're not willing to acknowledge and kind of like embrace the here, we're never going to get there. Like, how many people have, been on the whole diet craze and actually either haven't made it or it hasn't been sustainable, but they're hating here, thinking like, this is you. And once somebody actually said to me that, that you put on weight, but that just means that there's more of you to love. Yeah, you've got to find a way to reframe. But yes, self-love is really important. Because it's not about being selfish, because I think that sometimes we get, so that whole confusion in relation to that. It's actually about being self-full so that you can give from a full place. That if you've got a full cup, you can actually give more. You can love people differently. But we have to start with here. And if you think about being on the aeroplane, they always say, the oxygen challenges happen and the masks come down. You need to put it on yourself first. And I firmly believe that it's all about you. So it can be all about them, all about the people that you are here to serve. So ultimately it is about them, but you are the vehicle and the vessel that is going through. So you need to love you.
That's really inspiring. So embrace the now, the here, to love yourself. So Carole, what were the activities that you have been doing during the pandemic? What have you been up to during the pandemic?
One of the great things for me during the pandemic was that because I was already dealing with challenges from the 2019 stroke, that the pandemic didn't actually bring more challenges. I was already having to deal with lots of things. And what it did do was forced me to focus on how do you navigate this? And I think that sometimes the question that we should all be asking ourselves when something happens is, okay, this is the situation. How do I do it? How do I move forward? How do I navigate? And I had decided that as I was in the house by myself, actually, I was in the house by myself for 6 months without going outside. So I decided to reframe it. And so I decided that actually I was on a retreat. So the reason it was that I wasn't mixing with people was because I was now using the time to reflect, refresh, recharge, that kind of stuff. And as I'd said, I believe in God. So I also then decided that I actually wasn't alone. I was hanging out in the house with Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God. And for me, they became JC, H, and Papa G. And so it was really felt like, oh yeah, okay, they're here. So I'm not alone. I'm going to navigate this. So that really helped in terms of mindset and actually just kind of positioning myself to be able to navigate my way through whatever was coming next. And then I did workshops and I did speaking. I did a kind of whole variety of connecting, engaging, and inspiring people via Zoom. I discovered Zoom. And so whilst it was not the ideal situation, and I would never have chosen it that way, I chose how it was that I was going to. And I think that that's a message for all of us in terms of we've got no control over the hand we are dealt, but we choose how we play the game.
Yes, Carol, and you've been doing so many things as well. And then recently you've also emceed an event and you also won an award. So can you tell us about that one as well?
Well, interesting, the emceeing of the event, someone sent me some information about an event, and ordinarily what we would do is we would decide whether we were going to go or not, and then we would pass it on to friends that we think that would be interested. Carol did it differently. I asked the person if they had an MC, and they said no, and I said, would you like one? And what was particularly interesting about that was that based on the whole stroke brain and retrograde amnesia, so no major memories, I actually didn't know whether I had done that before or actually what an MC actually was. So that was kind of quite hilarious myself. And then what had happened was the week before I got laryngitis. So for 6 days, I wasn't speaking. So I started speaking on the day of the event. So I'm actually going to an event where I don't know whether my voice is going to hold out. I am not 100% certain about what's happening. And it wasn't scripted. So nobody had given me a script. I needed to make it happen. And it was just going back to that whole element of Sparkle. I knew who I was. I knew that I brought value to the table. And so irrespective of what was going on, I just needed to show up unapologetically on purpose. And actually, it was amazing. It was an amazing night. Like so many people talked about how amazing it was, which I thought was, wow, this Sparkle thing really is a thing. And then in the midst of the awards, I got one as well. And so that was like, okay, this is cool.
Congratulations on your award, Carol. So the Sparkle really works. So you're a personal brand strategist. Could you tell us more about what you do?
Yeah, so I work with primarily women, although I do work with men, but I've got a heart for women and for women to really identify and understand who they are and what it is that they are bringing to the table. And so I see the personal you tell the moment you show up before you've said anything, and that story begins with the story you tell yourself. And so it's that whole element of understanding more about who you are and what you are bringing to the table and getting the sparkle in alignment, and then understanding who are you here to serve, what is the message, and how you're going to share that, and just creating the strategy that will help you to be seen, be heard, and become unforgettable so that the people that you are here to serve see you and choose you. And it's a combination of coaching, there is mentoring, and I have some tools and resources to help you to do that.
So could you also tell our viewers how to get in touch with you? Like what are your different social accounts?
Right. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook as myself, Carole Pyke, and that's CarolePyke. And that's probably the best place to start, to connect with me on social media. And let's have a conversation.
That's great, Carole. So it's Black History Month in the UK. What is the significance of Black History Month to you?
I think it's more about the significance of Black history. And one of the interesting things is that whenever it is we talk about Black history, we seem to be talking about it as a Black thing, where actually Black history is a history thing. And all October as a month is about just a focus on raising the awareness of what has happened, what is happening, and just encouraging and inspiring people for what is to come. So I think it's got an important role to play, but we need to be including Black history in history and not seeing it as a separate element.
So, Carole, today happens to be also World Stroke Day, to raise awareness about stroke. So what do you want to tell people about stroke?
Well, I think that the thing that's really important for everybody to know and to hear is a stroke is a brain injury. Full stop. It is a brain injury. As a result of the brain injury, there are some physical challenges, or there may be, but it is first and foremost a brain injury. And I think that we spend so much time remembering or seeing the person that's got the face that droops to one side, has problems with their speech, or has got problems with their limbs, that we don't also recognize that there are processing and cognitive and memory challenges that people are also experiencing at the same time. And that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And also the fact that the statistics are 1 in 4 of us will have a stroke at some point. And so it's that whole thing about how to look after yourself and make sure that you're not the one. Like, I'm in a special club and I don't want you in it. I actually don't want you to join the club that I'm currently in. And so making sure that you look after your health, that you exercise, that you drink water, that you take time for rest, that you don't allow things to stress you, overstress you, because stress is a part of life. But actually, stressful situations that then you need to find a way to navigate that so that you are always looking after your health. And I want to say to anybody that's listening that is a stroke survivor, I want to salute your courage, your resilience, and your determination to keep going, because people don't understand just how much it takes to keep going when it feels like everything's falling apart, because your brain is quite literally the engine of your body. Your heart is the engine of life, but your brain is the engine of the body. And with a stroke, you have been impacted. It's a brain injury.
Thank you, Carole, for telling us more about stroke on World Stroke Day. So the holidays are coming, and I know that every day is a time to sparkle, but still the holidays are coming. So Halloween is this Sunday already. So what are you doing for Halloween?
Well, I actually don't acknowledge Halloween, actually, so it doesn't actually have any significance to me at all. It's just another day. And it's on Sunday, and I go to church on Sunday, so I'm going to church in the morning, and then I'm actually going to a black craft fair in the afternoon, and just kind of hanging out with friends. And I think that for all of us, whatever it is you're doing, enjoy it. It doesn't have to be, if you celebrate Halloween, then celebrate it. But if it's something that you don't celebrate, you don't have to celebrate it because other people are, but enjoy it because you're alive, and just celebrate life. Because I think that that's it. You're living and you're breathing, which is a gift to you. And your gift is to make the most of it and make it count.
And now for another holiday, Carole. Christmas is actually in 57 days. So what are your plans for Christmas?
That's a cheering thought. Well, actually, I'm just working on the fact that it's November. So I haven't actually thought about Christmas yet. But I did recognize that when you go into the supermarket and they've got big tubs of chocolates, that you know that Christmas is on its way. So I haven't actually thought about it. I think that, bearing in mind that last year I spent it on my own, It would actually be nice to spend it with people. So that will be my mission now, to actually sort out Christmas with people.
Celebrate the holidays with people. So Carole, how about this one? There's another holiday coming up. New Year is in 64 days. That's 64 days until 2022. So do you have tips for people to navigate 2022 better and how to do better in 2022?
Well, I think that, first of all, for everybody, that's probably a scary number, like, oh my gosh, that's in a minute. And where is 2021 gone? One of the things that I think about is that actually, if you're going into a new year, first of all, it's back to that whole vision thing. How would you like your 2022 to be? And then pack for the journey. Actually, look at what it is that you need to have in order for 2022 to be the year that you are dreaming of. You know, like if you were going to a new destination that you haven't been to before, but you would start to think about, what does that look like? You can see yourself on the beach or walking around historic places, but you've got a vision for that. Have the vision for 2022, because essentially you're walking through that to get there. And just like you would pack for your journey, start to pack for 2022. So what are the strengths, the skill sets, the lessons that you've learned from the journey that you've traveled so far? What are the tools that you actually have? And start packing for that. And then, just like if you were traveling somewhere, and let's say that it was a trip and there was scuba diving and you didn't have scuba diving equipment, you'd write a list of the things that you don't have. Do that for 2022. This is what it is that you want, where it is that you're going. These are the things that you have. What do you not have that you need to get? Because if you start to do that, you are now going to start looking at, okay, I don't have someone to support me. I don't have a coach. Let's say that. Right. Okay. So that's on my list. That's on my shopping list. I need to find that to help me to navigate 2022 in the way in which it is I'd like it to be. So it's really about the vision and the sparkle, of course, because you need to know who you are and really embrace that and really revisit, what value do I bring when I show up? So, and really the whole self-talk, actually, about the conversations that you have with yourself, so that you don't compare yourself to other people. You are conscious of what other people are doing, but you're not using that as a yardstick to measure how great you are. And so looking at all of those elements and making sure that you have them in your suitcase. In fact, actually, there's another thing that you could take with you, is I've created a concept called the WIN map. And that's WIN, which is the winning inspirational narrative. And so, seeing as we are now approaching November, yes, right. So for October, November, and December, create win maps for each month. And when I say this, it's using the whole concept of the mind map, where you put the month in the middle of the page, and then from that, you write down your wins. So your wins in October. And the wins are those little things. So it's not the huge thing. It's a bit like the jigsaw puzzle. We often look at the picture on the box, but we forget, in order to get the picture on the box, we have to put all of the little pieces together. So the big win that you might have been looking for, you might not have achieved it, but along the way, you have got a lot of small wins that you haven't acknowledged. Write them down. Because if you write them down, you now have a visual that actually says, do you know what? You know, when it is I'm thinking I can't, actually look what I have done. And if you do that for October, November, and December, you're going into January in a different state. You're going into January as a winner, because look at all of the things it is that I've achieved. And they could be anything from, I didn't want to get out of bed, but I forced myself to do that, and I did something. And that's a win. Record that. Yeah, so take your win maps with you.
That's a great idea about the win maps each month to get us ready also for the new year. So I'm just going to read through the comments of our virtual audience. We have a comment from Win. She's saying, Ms Carole Pyke, thank you for your words of inspiration. We have a comment and a question from Professor Data Dr. GP Dorisami. He's saying, Sparkling Carole, you are very inspiring, determined to overcome all forms of darkness, dullness, and negativities in your life. You had a powerful mind to overcome that deadly stroke that hit you twice. His question is, could you please enlighten with your experiences in how to cope and overcome stroke? How would you explain the statement mind over matter? That's from Professor Data Dr. GP Dorisami.
That's a good question. There's often a thing that says if you don't mind, then it doesn't matter. I think it's that whole thing about looking at the stuff that is important to you. And I think that at moments of crisis or trauma that we start to recognize that actually the stuff is that we value. And maybe it's before that happens that we need to recognize the values in our lives so that because the values don't change. What's of value to you now? If you have trauma tomorrow, that's still a value to you. And so it's really about starting before something happens, because oftentimes we're forced to think about things when it is a situation occurs. Rather than wait for that to happen, actually, let's start taking stock of what we already have, the richness and the value that we have, so that we can weather the storm. In fact, that just reminded me of my favorite tree is a bamboo tree, and the lessons that we can learn from the bamboo, because in the stormy weather, the bamboo actually can bend almost double and not break. And what happens in those times is its roots actually strengthen and grow. And when I say that, it's that whole bit of that when we are more conscious of who it is that we are and the value that we bring, we understand our values and our vision, that when things come, that they will knock us, but we won't be uprooted because we've already laid that foundation. So I think it is about going back to Sparkle is because it's all about knowing you and understanding what it is that you value, because then you can stand strong in the midst of any storm.
Carole, you're just so very inspiring. So we would like to ask this question. How do you get inspiration? Where do you find inspiration?
Well, it's interesting because I get inspiration from life's ordinary moments. And I go swimming, and I was in the swimming pool, and they section it off, and there's 3 sections of 3 lanes. And I was in the first section that was nearest the side, and there were lots of people there. And you had to kind of find a way to navigate them in order to swim. And I suddenly thought, oh my gosh, this is about positioning. You need to position yourself for the result it is that you're looking for. And so that was from the pool. And then the next day, they had moved the lane that separated two sections. So it was now wider. And I was sitting in the pool thinking, oh my gosh, this is wide now. This feels a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm really not sure about this. And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is about enlarging your territory. And you need to move out of your comfort zone in order to enlarge your territory. So I quite literally see things in everything, which it's that whole thing. I do feel that at times that I am weirdly wired, but I think that I'm coming from the place where it is that I'm expecting to learn something. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how it is it's going to happen, but I'm expecting every day there is going to be something for me to learn. And as a result, I can see it in walking through the park. I can see it in the trees. I can see it in conversations, in watching television. And I think that we need to identify where it is that we can get our inspiration from. Like, for instance, one of the things that people have said to me is I'm a motivational speaker. But I will say, no, I'm not, because I can't motivate you to do anything. You have to motivate you. And I think that sometimes that we forget that distinction. So I can inspire you. I can challenge you to think outside of your comfort zone, or just to enlarge your perspective, but I can't motivate you. Only you can do that. So it's that whole thing about identifying what is it that motivates me to keep going, to keep raising my game, to identify that for yourself.
So it's really only us who can motivate, who can do the action, while you provide inspiration.
Yeah.
So Carole, let's go to World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive has a World Moral Day initiative to emphasize the significant need to practice morality in the minds of every individual in this world. So WHD is making a petition for the UN to declare 2nd of September as World Moral Day, as it's the end of World War II. So in your opinion, how important is this initiative to have World Moral Day in these times? Why is it important to have morals in today's world?
I think that it sounds like I'm going to put this simplistically, but actually morals are the stuff that drives us or doesn't drive us. And one of the things that I've discovered is that if we could see people as people, actually, when that person is in front of you, you're seeing that person, that would shift everything. And so much of the way in which it is that we live lives are with what you could say are bad morals, is that we don't care about people. And so our actions often impact so many other people, but we don't care. And I think that the whole idea of kind of bringing morals back to the table, like, so for instance, in the UK and in the US, they took God out of schools. And whilst it is that I'm not talking about religion, but they took God out of schools, and the whole essence of God was actually about some kind of moral code and some kind of moral compass. And so it's almost like if they wanted to take God out, but kept the moral and the moral compass, that would change everything, because we are actually making a difference to children's lives, so that they are seeing people, they're seeing their actions as having an impact. That whole element where it is, if the butterfly flaps its wings in the north, it changes things over here. Exactly the same things happening in relation to morals and how it is that we treat people and how we navigate our way through life. So yeah, we've got a World Peace Day where people are putting down arms. Why not a World Morals Day?
Thank you, Carol. So here's the final question. Here's a question we usually ask our guests. So what is your inspiring message to the world?
Sparkle. It's that whole element of being the best version of you, because you are the greatest gift that you have to give to the world. And that doesn't have to be on a global scale. This is about inspiring millions, and I'm excited about inspiring millions, but your space may just be your household. It may be your street, it may be your local area. Opportunities are there all the time. You just need to show up and shine your light. And your light, as I said, could be a tea, be a floodlight, but it's yours. And don't try and be like the person next to you, because I'm sorry to tell you this, you're never going to be, because you are uniquely you. And that's what it is that we want. We want you to show up and be the best version of yourself. And actually, if you are always striving to be the best version of yourself, you don't have to learn any lines. You don't have to be looking, oh yeah, what did they wear today? Or what did they do? Oh yeah, I need to do it like that. You don't have to learn anything. Be you, because that quite literally is where it is the riches lie.
Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, sharing your words of wisdom, and inspiring the world with your story. So we will just sparkle. And so in honor of international recognition for your virtue in persistently serving and inspiring humanity with your noble deeds, World Humanitarian Drive would like to award you, Carole Pyke, with Inspiring Humanitarian Award.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. That one where it's just gonna bring a tear to my eye. Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
Thank you so much, Carole. You're very inspiring, and we really enjoyed everything that you shared with us and how to sparkle today. And so thank you so much. So Carole Pyke, Sparkle Navigator, personal brand strategist, and a 2-time stroke survivor here on Inspiring Millions Show on World Stroke Day. So we would like to share a quotation by our special guest, Carole Pyke.
Yeah, it's don't dim your sparkle.
Yes, coming.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
We are.
Don't dim your sparkle to make someone else feel comfortable. And I think that there are so many times where it's that we do that. Be who you are without hesitation, and you will inspire others to sparkle too. And strangely enough, this is akin to the words from Nelson Mandela's inauguration speech, which comes from Marianne Williamson's Return to Love. When you let your light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Be the best version of you and make it count.
Thank you so much, Carole, for that very inspiring sharing. And so we hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Ms Carole Pyke, that it motivated you to believe in yourself, your brand, and sparkle. Remember, there is an acronym for SPARKLE. Here on Inspiring Millions Show, we present you with brilliant people from around the world. So feel free to connect with them on social media, and together, let's make a difference in the world. If today's discussion inspired you, please like it, share it, send us a comment. Do share with us your takeaways from today. Follow us on our social media accounts. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel, WHD Media. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk for more inspiring events. WHD would like to thank all those who took part in making Embracing World Moral Day a success, our prominent global speakers, students, parents, our academic partners, and those working behind the scenes. WHD's tech team, headed by Director of Global Operations, Ms. Sarah Wilson. So you may watch the replay on our Facebook page or YouTube channel. Everyone, stay safe and healthy. These are times we should strengthen our bodies, minds, emotions, and our faith. Please remember to have compassion, be kind to yourself, others, and our planet. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. Love and virtual hug to you all. To all those celebrating their birthdays, that's the twins, Marilu and Marilyn, this week, and special milestones as well. Happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend. On behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes, WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12 Honorable Secretary Generals, we thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us and supporting our show. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions Show. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with Dr. Ang Bon Bang of Malaysia as we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.